they once worked together a long time ago. They're not friends now. They don't like each other. And yeah, 50 has taken every shot, especially when Diddy has been down.
Did you ever spend time with the guy? Did you ever meet Diddy?
I've met him before, yeah.
How was he?
Very nice guy, very smart, super business. He's very successful.
Federal agents descend on Sean Diddy Combs' Miami fortress just as the sun burns off the last pre-dawn mist. And we're watching it live. Armored SUVs choking the driveway, black helicopters tracing circles in the sky, agents fanning out with gloved hands and wire cutters. The spectacle is relentless. Within minutes, a parade of Lamborghinis and Rolls Royces are hitched and hauled off, while uniformed officers hustle through his palatial entryway clutching thick binders and sealed evidence bags. At the recording studio, an entire floor is locked down. The money accounts are the next to vanish. One after another, digital balances snap to zero as every account linked to the Diddy dynasty gets iced. We have never seen a hip-hop empire torn down so fast, so ruthlessly, and in such public view. Diddy, once the perennial kingmaker, now appears as a ghost behind tinted glass. His legacy shredded on every trending page. Fans swarm online, begging for answers, sharing memes, or just posting broken heart emojis as the world digests the news. The mogul they once called untouchable is cornered, his empire being dismantled in real time.
Interestingly, we haven't seen the indictments yet. There's been some time lag. I suppose it will take some time to go through all the forensic, evidence.
Behind these front-page fireworks, the FBI's latest discoveries are somehow even more staggering than the raid itself. What began as a routine asset seizure has erupted into a much darker portrait, a Byzantine criminal network kept alive by a spiderweb of offshore companies and layers of dummy corporations. According to court documents unsealed overnight, investigators have traced entire chains of shell accounts looping from the Caribbean to Dubai to Zurich, each holding pieces of a fortune that once seemed bottomless. Forensic accountants, who, by the way, are probably the only people still getting raises in this economy, allege that Diddy's cash flow propped up dozens of shadow businesses, security firms that exist only on paper, talent agencies staffed by employees who appear nowhere else except the payroll, and luxury real estate portfolios registered under the names of drivers, cousins, and one very unlucky dentist.
Well, the things that I experienced with him were monster-like. That stuff almost destroyed my life.
The whole scheme, we're told, is held together by a network of insiders so loyal, or so terrified, they were willing to sign whatever NDA was shoved in front of them. Now, as names leak and alliances splinter, the sense of betrayal is thick enough to choke on. We have insiders whispering that whole rooms flipped when the feds rolled in. Longtime confidants who, faced with asset freezes and wire fraud charges, started naming names just to save their own skin. And here's where the rumors hit overdrive. Within hours of the raids, industry gossips and political power players alike are fixated on one question. Is Diddy just the first domino? Or is he being offered up as a sacrificial lamb in some bigger, uglier game? Enter the Trump factor, a rumor that won't fade no matter how many denials are issued. The speculation is irresistible. Has Diddy's team tried to broker a backdoor deal with the White House, swapping high-voltage dirt on Hollywood royalty in exchange for clemency? Multiple Beltway sources say envoys from Diddy's camp have dangled promises of explosive files implicating other megastars. But former allies inside Trump world insist that any such offer was instantly complicated by years of beef between the mogul and the president. Trump himself, in classic fashion, told Newsmax, "It's hard, Like, we're human beings, and we don't like to have things cloud our judgment, right?" He went further, admitting, "When I ran for office, he was very hostile. It makes it more difficult to do." That's not a door being closed, but it isn't swinging open either.
So that's just competitive.
Competitiveness.
All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him.
Okay,
like that.
damn, all right. I didn't know what that meant.
Okay.
All right, okay.
And if that wasn't enough fuel for the rumor mill, the talk behind the scenes is that Diddy may have tried to play both sides, leaking tips about old enemies, old friends, maybe even frenemies, anyone with something to hide from the FBI or the DOJ. As the walls closed in, one former road manager claims, Diddy's inner circle started eating itself alive. No one wanted to be the last to cut a deal. That puts every celebrity who's ever been to a Diddy afterparty on edge. We've all heard the stories, nights that went on forever, phones locked up at the door, contracts signed, just to keep the secrets secret. Now, the specter of betrayal looms over every A-list group chat. How many will turn on each other? How many are one subpoena away from public disgrace?
In the book, Porter allegedly recounts discovering and making copies of the tapes that Diddy made of himself having with young boys that he was managing, including an alleged tape involving an 18-year-old pop.
Just when it seems like things can't spiral further, the whispers about the missing tapes return, more ominous than ever. According to several law enforcement sources, a stash of raw, unedited footage from Diddy's notorious freak-off parties has finally landed in federal hands. We're talking hours of voyeuristic reels shot at secret locations, many of them featuring faces blurred in the media, but crystal clear to anyone with a subpoena and a grudge. The narrative, fed by 3 veteran insiders and a pair of bitter ex-employees, is that these tapes are the real currency of Diddy's power, the compromise that kept everyone in line, from fellow musicians to business rivals and maybe even some politicians. But now, as these alleged recordings surface, a new question takes center stage. Why is the Department of Justice keeping them locked up? Are they trying to protect Diddy? Or is it about shielding other titans from a public shaming that could rock the entertainment industry all the way to its foundations? The feds, for their part, refuse to comment on ongoing investigations. But the temperature keeps rising. A leak from one junior prosecutor paints the picture, tapes so damning they could bring down half the room at the Grammys. And yet, officially, there's silence. No charges, no court exhibits, just a gnawing sense that the real scandal hasn't even gone public yet. Fans and foes alike are left to wonder who's on those reels and what kind of pressure is being exerted both inside and outside the courthouse to keep certain footage from ever seeing daylight. The DOJ is no stranger to strategic amnesia, but it's clear to everyone watching that the tapes are the ultimate bargaining chip. If they leak, it's not just Diddy's empire on the line. It's the reputation of an entire generation of stars.
Continue to engage in all these freak-offs with him, and he sounds really pissed off.
Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all, at all. So I don't know, you think you silent treating me, and you think I'm going to be, nah. You'll have a rude awakening.
All this is unfolding as Diddy sits in limbo, his sentence looming and his lawyers locked in a war of attrition. His defense has grown desperate, if not delusional, arguing that yes, their client enjoyed unconventional relationships, and yes, maybe he broke a few laws around private entertainment, but there was never a true criminal enterprise, never a hierarchy, never a system. Prosecutors, meanwhile, have assembled a puzzle so intricate it would make even the OG mob bosses blush. They allege Diddy's entire business, his labels, his talent agencies, even his security teams, were nothing but tentacles of an operation built to fulfill his private desires, protect his reputation, and silence his enemies. Witnesses have painted a picture of coordinated activities that sound less like a record label and more like a movie script. Employees flying in guests across state lines, elaborate rituals, suitcases stuffed with party supplies, and cleanup crews instructed to erase every trace of the night's business. Testimony from one former assistant describes being paid in stacks of $100 bills for errands that on paper were about hospitality, but in reality could land anyone in federal custody.
I'm sorry, I'm just I'm in this moment right now. This is crazy. Sorry. People don't really know how much what it does to you when something that you love is taken from you and thrown away like it don't even matter, and then they move on with their lives and you're stuck. You're stuck during those years. You're still stuck 21 years later.
And then there's the betrayal, the thing that stings hardest for every player in this drama. As the case moves from high-octane trial to slow-motion collapse, more and more of Diddy's trusted circle have flipped. The FBI's lead team is now said to be working off a living list of cooperating witnesses, updated daily as new names come forward. A handful of former employees, once fiercely loyal, have been granted partial immunity in exchange for details about shell accounts, unregistered trusts, and those legendary blackout parties. A disgraced ex-business manager who once handled the mogul's offshore interests has reportedly delivered a treasure map of the whole network to authorities. Enough data, he claims, to ruin half the city. Diddy's rivals can barely contain their glee while his former friends trawl through old group chats, deleting evidence and rehearsing their alibis. Meanwhile, the courtroom drama has turned into a revolving door of drama and speculation. We have seen RICO charges wielded like sledgehammers, with prosecutors calling on everything from kidnapping to bribery, arson to illegal pharmaceuticals distribution to prove their point. The prosecution's argument is blunt. This was never just about personal pleasure or private excess. It was about power, control, and the willingness to use anything: money, intimidation, secret recordings to keep the show running. Jurors have heard about bodyguards threatening musicians, ex-girlfriends coerced into silence, hotel security staff bribed to hand over surveillance footage, and assistants booking flights for guests who had no idea what they were walking into. Kid Cudi himself pulled into the mess via a torched supercar and a string of menacing DMS, testified about the threats he faced for nothing more than dating the wrong person at the wrong time.
This was when his personal assistant was on the stand, and they were asking him about that he had witnessed that Sean Diddy Combs had taken, and he talked about and he said that one of those pills was in the shape of President Obama's face. Get some reaction from the juries, as if just to make an acknowledgement as to, oh, that's really interesting. That was in the shape of President Obama's face.
Layered onto this already sprawling scandal is the sense that no one is safe, not even the prosecutors. The high-profile firing of Maureen Comey, the lead lawyer who took on both Diddy and the infamous Epstein case, has only fueled theories that the real power in this story isn't sitting in the courtroom at all. Comey's abrupt dismissal sent a chill through the justice community. Her warning, sent in a last message to colleagues, was blunt enough to make the rounds in every law office in Manhattan. Fear is the tool of a tyrant, wielded to suppress independent thought. The DOJ is purging lawyers left and right, and even seasoned reporters are now talking about the Bondi blacklist, a running count of anyone who ever touched the Epstein files or who dared to dig too deep into Diddy's offshore dealings.
And what's really going to be interesting is the parade of celebrities who we expect to be mentioned and or called into that courtroom. You know, people who we hadn't heard about prior, like Mike Myers, you know, Austin Powers, Mike Myers. Why is he getting called? Why is he on the witness list? That'll be fascinating. And then, of course, there are the no-name, quote unquote, women who are going to have to find every ounce of courage they have.
All of it feels connected. The same week that Diddy's assets are seized and Comey is shown the door, the DOJ quietly releases a 2-page memo declaring that Epstein's long-rumored client list never existed, and that there's no credible evidence of blackmail, despite years of bombastic claims to the contrary. Conspiracy theorists are in a frenzy, drawing lines between Diddy, Epstein, and anyone who ever set foot on a private jet to Miami. The public may have gotten bored with old news, but not with missing footage and secret tapes, especially not when the authorities admit, almost sheepishly, that a crucial minute and 12 seconds is missing from the security video of Epstein's final hours. It's the kind of oops that only stokes suspicions further. We're left watching a parade of headlines that feel more surreal with each passing day. Attorneys from both sides leap in front of cameras to denounce the rumors. Diddy's defense calls the government's case pathetic extortion, while federal lawyers insist they're simply following the evidence wherever it leads. But nobody really believes the drama ends with one guilty verdict or a single mansion seized. The sense on the ground is that we're only scratching the surface. Every day brings a new leak, a new close source ready to spill about what really went down at those after-hours gatherings, what the offshore accounts were really for, and which megastars are now lawyering up as the investigation keeps expanding. The story refuses to settle. Every answer raises more questions. Every hard fact trails off into a fresh round of speculation. And so, as we watch the empire crumble in real time, as every luxury car is towed and every shell company unmasked, we have to ask, how many more names are scribbled in the margins of those sealed files? How many fortunes are one subpoena away from vanishing?
Because we now know who all the prosecutors will be on Diddy's trial. They're all women. They have assembled a team of female prosecutors, and that is definitely not.
As we peel back the layers of this spectacle, the comparisons between Diddy's collapse and the shadowy implosion of Jeffrey Epstein grow almost too striking to ignore. Both men operated on a scale few outsiders could comprehend, gliding through the same Manhattan high-rises, throwing private parties where billionaires and politicians rubbed elbows under ceilings that dripped with secrets. They built fortunes from scratch, charmed their way into the company of presidents and CEOs, and shielded their movements with a web of loyal enablers and confidential agreements so tight you'd think they invented the NDA. But what really ties these two together isn't just proximity or extravagance. It's the chilling suspicion that both men used leverage, coercion, and fear to build a world where the only rule was protect the boss at all costs. The question echoing across both cases is blunt. Did these empires survive by threatening to expose anyone who dared to challenge them, or were they just the fall guys in a system that rewards silence and buries the inconvenient truth?
Will you help me? I want to hear your music, so I come over there and I play the music, and he's sitting there, just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, you know, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication.
Let's not forget, both Diddy and Epstein became magnets for conspiracy theories that grew wild in the shadows of unanswered questions and conveniently missing evidence. We remember the endless rumors about Epstein's infamous client list, a ledger that, depending on who you ask, could bring down governments, or at least ruin a couple dozen careers. The DOJ finally said it never existed, but nobody actually believes the story ends there. Now, as Diddy's own black book of alliances and secret recordings comes under the federal microscope, we see the same old patterns. The files that won't be released, the tapes that are quietly shuffled into evidence lockers, the nervous phone calls between lawyers for some of the most recognizable names in the world. Both men's parties, Diddy's in hotel penthouses, Epstein's on private islands, served as the ultimate currency: access, information, leverage, and the always lingering threat of exposure. What's even more unnerving is how the two cases have collided on the political stage. Trump's administration, still haunted by the Epstein saga, has gone into damage control overdrive as the Diddy scandal expands. There's a bitter undertone to every official statement, as if the real fear isn't about justice, but about what else might get dragged into the daylight. We'd like to release everything, but we don't want people to get hurt that shouldn't be hurt, Trump said, towing a line between transparency and quiet warning. It's an echo of the same logic that's always protected the elite. Information is power, but only if it stays in the right hands. And right now, the right hands look more like clenched fists than open palms.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking.
Nowhere is this climate of suspicion more electric than in the saga of Marine Comey. She was the U.S. government's not-so-secret weapon against both Epstein and Diddy, a prosecutor known for tenacity and an unflinching eye for detail. Her sudden firing, just as Diddy's offshore accounts and sealed files became national news, has unleashed a wave of speculation you can feel vibrating across the justice system. Was she really dismissed for stepping on the wrong toes? Or did she stumble on something no one in power wanted made public? Her departing message? Fear is the tool of a tyrant wielded to suppress independent thought. Hits like a warning shot, especially as her family name still carries the scars of old battles with Trump and the FBI.
We've talked about the fact that there's sometimes videos or photos or what don't get admitted to a case because they're
overly
prejudicial.
Right. This is getting admitted. Both sides.
It's definitely getting admitted.
Both sides agree. It's going to be admissible. The defense has a hurdle to jump. I will tell you that they vote in the end, and the vote may surprise.
The whispers grow louder. Did Comey see evidence that linked these two high-profile empires together, or was her firing a message to anyone else willing to push the investigation further? And therefore you wasn't. WXF. Colleagues describe a pressure campaign behind closed doors, a frantic scramble to erase, delay, and deflect anything to keep certain files from entering the public record. The stakes here are not just about one mogul or one financier. They're about a system built on favors, secrets, and mutual protection. A world where, if you know too much, you disappear from the story altogether. As one former DOJ official told us, this isn't about punishing Diddy, it's about making sure the fallout stops with him. Through all of this, the real question lurking in the background is whether Diddy's empire was ever truly isolated. The more we dig, the more we see patterns repeating. Money cycling through foreign accounts, shell companies that vanish overnight, luxury properties acquired and offloaded at dizzying speed. The same names pop up in unrelated cases. A lawyer here, a fixer there, a foundation that seems to do nothing but accept wire transfers from tax havens. As more insiders cut deals with prosecutors, their stories start to blur together, hinting at a wider constellation of power that stretches far beyond any single courtroom. We have witnesses who worked for both men. We have personal assistants who spent years traveling from penthouse to penthouse, ferrying messages and gifts between celebrities who now pretend they barely remember each other. Episodes, and we have the rumors, always circling, always threatening to break into headlines. Rumors that say Diddy's insurance files contain footage and documents so dangerous, even the DOJ can't decide whether to bury them or use them as leverage.
Potentially, it could be a conflict with the client, right? A disagreement. They just don't get along. The communication is poor. They don't agree on defense strategy. It could be a conflict with one of the other lawyers. Obviously, it seems like Agnifilo is the lead on this case, although Rico was certainly, his one.
We can't ignore the impact all of this is having on the industry itself. High-profile managers and agents are demanding their own legal representation. New loyalty contracts are springing up across every entertainment label. Security teams are burning the midnight oil, sifting through years of old footage, text messages, and NDAs, trying to guess what will matter if the feds come knocking. Even the most ironclad alliances are cracking. One source insists that there's not a single major name in urban music who isn't sweating bullets right now. And it's not just music. Ties to tech moguls, athletes, and political power brokers are now under review. This is the kind of slow-motion avalanche that can wipe out reputations in a heartbeat. What's left, as we watch Diddy's empire dissolve in the glare of the media, is a sickening sense that the story we're being told is only half the truth. For every charge on the record, there are 3 more accusations whispered in confidence. For every asset seized, another disappears into a trust fund or a foreign holding company. And for every loyalist who stands up in court, there are 5 who have already signed their cooperation deals, ready to swap silence for immunity. The authorities keep insisting they're bringing closure, but each announcement seems to leave a dozen doors open and 100 new questions unanswered.
So, specifically challenges allegations suggesting that Mr. Combs and his involvement in the 2018 of his former partner Kim Porter, whose passing was officially attributed to natural causes by the Los Angeles County Coroner.
We have to ask, if Diddy's secrets are powerful enough to threaten Hollywood's A-list, who's making sure they stay buried? And as his dynasty collapses, how many more are quietly making moves to shield their own fortunes, their own past, and their own carefully crafted public images from the coming storm? It's clear by now the fallout from this scandal is only getting started. If you think we've reached the end of this story, think again. The next set of names could drop at any moment, and the list might include faces you'd never expect. Who's really pulling the strings behind the scenes, and what are they willing to do to keep the truth from spilling out? Let us know what you think in the comments. Whose secrets are safest, and who should be sweating the most? Don't blink, don't look away, and don't miss the next chapter. Until then, stay curious, stay bold, and keep watching. Because in this game, the real shockers are always just one headline away.